Howdy. Today's the day. I have finally finished the boss Datapack. So, right now, I have 5 different bosses implemented, each one reminiscent of some taste. One for sweetness, sourness, bitterness, saltiness, and umami, which is the savoriness, basically. It's pretentious way of saying the savory taste. So to summon any of these, simply throw down a wither skeleton skull and an armor stand, and then a hard pumpkin, a phantom membrane, and 2 ingredients indicative of the boss itself. Since we're doing sweet first, it's sugar and sweet berries. I think I'll be fine with just a strength potion here. These bosses aren't too terribly difficult, but I am wearing full diamond with like netherite stuff. In case things get too hairy. I don't think they're necessary. So the first boss's gimmick is that he is fast, has high knockback resistance, and every once in a while will throw out sugar bombs. There's also some funny dialogue for all these bosses. We won't get to see too much of it since I'm going to try my best to fly through them. Oh. Some client lag there. Alright. I'll keep it there for now. So, there's also 3 items for each boss, and I'll explain why I'm hurting myself in a moment. One of them is a weapon, one of them is an armor piece, not armor stand, a piece of armor, one of them is a miscellaneous item. In this case, the miscellaneous item are candied hearts. If you eat one, restores 4 health. The chef's apron gives you resistance and speed at full hunger. I'm going to hold off for a moment, because this other item gives you a increasing strength boost based on your current hunger value. Or your current saturation value, I should say. This golden carrot, and suddenly, that is a lot of stuff. I get the speed boost, the resistance boost, and strength 5. Now, I'm immediately going to toss these out. You might wonder why, because they seem very powerful. But I guess this next guy is not going to do any good. The next boss is Sour Grape. His primary gimmick revolves around hunger, which directly counters the strategy. His items are a glowberry and an apple instead. Which, in the future, I might swap this out for something else, because glowberries are quite hard to come by. Yeah, I think I have everything. And all of their dialogue is sort of reminiscent of their character. This boss is very derisive. I'm already on phase 2. Hot damn. So in phase 1, he spawns one of those little buggers every time you damage him. In phase 2, that number's knocked up to 2 each. And he drops. This item might be one of my favorites in this entire thing. By the way, I have everything sealed off because I had an incident last time I tried to record this where a boss got himself stuck in one of these pits and refused to get out. So instead, I'm just going to do this. So, on the surface, that looks like it does absolutely nothing. Let me get some milk so that these particles stop flying around. FOV returns to normal. But let me go into spectator mode. Oh, wow. So, I love the mycelium effect with the spectator on, but you wouldn't be able to see that in-game. So, grab some bone meal, and help him along a bit. And when they're fully grown, they'll spawn turrets. And these turrets fire in, well, mostly random directions. The RNG function isn't perfect, but I'd say this is pretty good. And you'll have to take my word for it, because it is random, firing in random directions. They do a metric ton of damage to anything they hit. I believe I have it set to be 15 at the moment. And I want to pick these up. There's a chance to mine. There's a good chance that when you mine up the block underneath, you get the seeds back. Now, trousers are basically just for exploration and not for combat, because when you use them, it lays down a trellis. If you haven't heard of a trellis before, it's sort of like it's like a set of, almost like a ladder, a set of sticks that you hang grapes and olives on while they grow. What this does is that you pop it down, go somewhere else, and then crouch and return to its position. It's a neat little bit of technology there. I imagine it would work pretty well with sticky pistons as well. If you use sticky pistons with slime blocks, you can launch it and then travel to where it is, similar to an ender pearl. The final item is simple enough. It's Cherry Bomb. Throw it, and it goes bang. That's about it. I'm kind of bad. I'm pretty bad at it, but you can kind of like do a 1 or 2 and make it go farther. But I'm pretty sure if you did this in survival mode, it would damage you. So it's kind of tricky to do right without hurting yourself. The third boss of this set is the essence of Saltiness. And as you could probably guess, it's a pirate boss. Whatever. What I lack in originality, I make up for in the cool ways these bosses are executed. I'm gonna stop using this axe. I want the fight to go at least a little bit longer. So this guy's gimmick is these cannonballs. He can get damaged by his own cannonballs, but it's not going to do that much damage. And that rate is doubled. Oh. What a wuss. Well, I'll have to let him survive a little bit longer to show off his secondary move, because it is very cool. But his drops, he drops some cluster TNT. He drops the Pirate's Rapier, which is probably one of my favorite weapons that I've implemented. You can crouch to leap forward, and while leaping forward, you get a massive strength boost, as well as slow falling to negate fall damage. So suppose there's a zombie, does a ton of damage. However, it does come at a cost. Because you're leaping directly towards an enemy, they do have the chance to attack you before you attack them. So if I were to go into survival, he does manage to get a shot off before I kill him. So it's a difficult decision when you want to use it. I feel like it would be more useful against things like blazes, skeletons, and ghasts that have cooldown on their attacks. And the final thing is the head cannon. And it's simple enough. Your projectiles are replaced by cannonballs. which operate almost identically to the cannonballs fired by the boss, except that you can be a bit more liberal with the velocity of them than before. You can also shoot them up in the air, and when they collide in the air, they fire up out a bunch. It's neat. Go ahead and re-equip that. And let me re-summon the boss real quick so I can show off his gimmick. So, his secondary attack is a boat. He pulls a whole ghost ship out of the air. And let me get a little bit further away so that his cannon stops shooting out. Let's do scoreboard. Objectives, set display. I can just cancel this if he still spawns the thing. There it is. Say hello to the can. Oops. Say hello to the ship. Yes, those are all armor stands. This is all armor stands with falling blocks in their head, allowing them to move pretty smoothly for what it is. It is a bit jittery and a bit laggy, but there's not a whole lot I can do about that. This is a very resource-intensive thing. Alright, well, thank you for your time, Dog Salty. You've been a wonderful boss. And now, we move on to the fourth boss. Rind the Bitter Symbiote. Find the stuff. Use Netherwort and Cocoa Beans to summon him. I'm gonna want my bow out for this one. This one will mess you up if you don't have the proper equipment. I'm also gonna grab slow falling potions for reasons you'll see very shortly. So, his primary method of attack is a combination of that little beam and the shulker bullets. Slow falling potions help a ton here. He's on phase 2, so let me give him a moment to do his special attack. He also doubles the rate of his shulker bullets, which can be kind of a problem. There they are. That is just horrifying. Yeah. All right. I wish it was like a cycle between survival or creative or spectator, and I didn't have to keep auto-setting it. So, this boss, I keep giving myself potions and I'm not actually using them. I keep clogging up my inventory. This boss drops 3 things. The Shield of Submerged Sin, which gives Dolphin's Grace, and I built a little mock aquarium here to kind of show that off. Yeah, Dolphin's Grace. It does Dolphin's Grace things. There's this crossbow, which, as you'll soon find out, worked extremely well against the Guardian Angel's attack. You spawn in a bunch of creepers, and even though this is a chain lightning attack, it doesn't actually charge the creepers. That would be funny, but it seems sort of unnecessary. I might add that in the future. Hits every single one of them exactly once before terminating. Yeah. And this is an older build compared to the rest of this project, so it is a little bit hokey by comparison, but whatever. I'm fine with what it is. And the final object is these bitter herbs, which let me hop into survival mode. That will give you wither and 2 minutes of a random status effect. So let's try my luck. There's regeneration. Damn, that's actually fantastic. Regeneration 3 for 2 minutes. And because I have that, I can kind of like churn these out now. Now that is a lot of stats, if you're willing to play the random game. It's not entirely consistent, because you can also get things like water breathing and jump boost, but it can be very, very powerful in the right hands. Well, with the right luck, I should say. Some milk. Put that away. And now we move on to the hardest boss of the set, UMAMI. Now, let me swap these arrows out, because I'm going to try and fight him honorably, and when that fails, I'm just going to cheese him. Well, I can't even say cheese, because this is an option in the game, and this is probably the best way to fight him. But an honorable fight is probably the cooler option, so that's what I'm going to go for first. Since he's the last boss in the set, he has some custom... excuse me, some custom particles. Blasted hiccups. So he moves fast. He moves really, really fast. And he also has... his lines are a lot more memey. There's like some Sekiro lines in there and some like joke dialogue. God, he's whooping me. This would be better with a shield now that I think about it. Yeah. These two, he lets out an absolute arrow storm. Out here with your Dragon Ball Z references. And it's chaotic. Very chaotic. But I think he's about to go to phase 3. Yeah. Ooh. He goes back to lightning fast. Okay, I need steak. The bosses only have so much dialogue before it wraps around. Yeah, I got him in a loop. Let's go. That's that. Wow, I didn't expect to actually beat him honorably. Usually, the strategy is to pelt him with slowness arrows, which prevents him from overwhelming you. But it's actually possible to beat him legit. Awesome. As for his drops, he has 3. Well, all of them have 3. The first is the Mizugumu Galoshes. For those of you that don't know, Mizugumu are one of the fabled tools of the ninja that allows them... they're basically almost like platypus feet. It lets them walk on water. So it's a similar mechanism. And it's a little bit janky, a little bit jaunty, but I'm not... this was a difficult effect to implement without it randomly failing after a certain amount of lily pads. So it's jittery, but it's very effective. The lily pads will fade after a certain amount of time. The second item is the Hwacha. This is another callback to... I mean, that was more of historical legend. This is more of an actual... this is a bit closer to a historical item, but from what I can tell, it's also sort of dramatized. The Hwacha was a massive structure of arrows that, upon being set off, would fire hundreds upon hundreds of arrows that were propelled by fireworks. So it would be this massive storm of flaming arrows. This isn't exactly a storm, but it's still quite strong. Fires 10 arrows, and all of those 10 will break up into 10 more arrows when they hit the ground. So you end up with this nice display, and it can be very useful for dealing with large groups of enemies. And finally, final reward for all of this is the Insane Membrane, a sort of trophy. Now, I wouldn't have put this in if it didn't have some sort of special effect. So if you pin it in an item frame, it'll actually have a special particle effect. Come on, do the sound. Hang on. Yeah, it seems to only work for regular item frames, but it does have this very cool shining effect. Oops. That being said, there is a secondary function of this item. In the future, I'm going to add insane variants to these bosses. This is going to be the next ingredient in this mechanism. So suppose I summoned it with insane membranes, it would summon an insane variant of the boss with harder patterns, more damage, faster speed in the case of Sweet Tooth, and much, much better rewards as well. That might take a bit, because God knows how classes are going to shift as time goes on, but I hope to get it out to start on it relatively soon. But regardless, I had an absolute blast working on this project. Didn't expect to, all things considered, I didn't even expect to get this far. I expected to hit a brick wall and then kind of just peter out, but this has worked incredibly well. But yeah. It's been fun. Look forward to seeing more in the future, probably. Thanks for watching, y'all.